At what point when you were at Drake University did you know you were going to come to LA?
Oh, yeah. So that's a good question. I think I was thinking about dropping out in freshman year because I sort of, I kind of got that bug about like, well, maybe this is not the right place for me. And I had this advisor, Todd Evans, who was great, and he convinced me like, just stay in it. Just keep doing it. Like you'll learn a lot here. It may not be a film school, but in this program, you'll really learn a lot. And so I did, and I stuck into it. And I'm happy that I did because it really allowed me when I was in my senior year to go ahead and take the chance to get an internship in Los Angeles. And my dad knew somebody who lived out here and had access to the UTA job list. I have no idea if that's still a thing, but it was full of jobs and internships and everything. And so I just started submitting internships like mad, get me out there for a summer. I need a summer internship. I need to know if Los Angeles is right for me, because there were a couple other places that were filmmaker friendly. I think Austin was a place that I was thinking about. Doing it in Minnesota wasn't a thing. Back in the day, yeah, there wasn't really a lot of people doing film in Minnesota. I think that has changed because I've met a lot of people out here that are from Minnesota, and so it seems like filmmaking is sort of catching on, which is fantastic. But it was getting an internship and landing that, in that summer, the summer of 2006 it was, that I was able to come out, and it was a terrifying thing to do. For me, going from Minnesota, generally a smaller town. I didn't live in the Twin Cities. I lived, in a suburb 20 minutes north. And, you come to LA and you're on the 10 and I remember going where's the Hollywood sign? And I was looking to my right because I saw the mountains. I was like, where's the Hollywood sign? And in classic, this is what happens when you first come to LA story, I look forward and traffic had stopped and I rear-ended somebody.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bad rear ending, it was just a bump. But that was my introduction to LA, is getting into traffic on the 10 and rear-ending somebody, which everybody should have, and I'm sure so many people do. But yeah, after that, and sort of getting my bearings in LA, I very quickly found over the summer that the town was for me, it fit my vibe. It was full of people who were like me, who were passionate about film, passionate about entertainment, interesting, creative, artsy, hard workers, and so diverse. And that's the one thing that I learned about being on set, is that you meet so many different people from so many walks of life, from the craftsmen, in the art department, to the grips, to the camera people. Those are all very different people. Different types of people want to be grips versus want to be camera nerds versus, or set decorators or costumers or, the ADs. It's a lot of different people, but it's great. And how all of those disparate personalities sort of come together and make something that can be transcendent. That is kind of the beauty of making films.
So it's 2006, you're driving around, you're feeling good, wind in your hair, and then the recession hits.
Yeah.
And what happens then?
Yeah, so I had been doing PA work, going from various project to various project, big projects to small projects, and unpaid project to semi-paid projects and stuff like that. And I remember it was around the recession and the writer's strike. And I had just done a stint as a director's assistant on an indie feature, which was super fun, and I learned a lot. And I was doing reality TV, which I never thought that I would do, but somebody offered me a gig, and when you need a gig, you take a gig.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was a driver for one of these reality shows shot over in West Hollywood, driving people from parking up into the mansion in the hills.
Oh, that's great.
So it was a trip, but I realized it was around Christmas time. I was sitting in this van pretty much all day was getting fat, you know, and the biggest thing is that I wasn't able to write or even direct. Directing was like, I can't afford that, you know what I mean? Like, so I had to at least write, but I couldn't even do that because, you know, you're working 5 or 6 days a week, sometimes even 7, and it's at least 12 hours. You're definitely working, you know, 14, sometimes 16, you know, it's long, and you just come home exhausted. And I found that it sapped any sort of creative drive that I had in me. And I hated that because I was here to make stuff and I wasn't making stuff. So I had to, you know, really think about it and go, do I want to keep doing this? You know, I'm sitting at the top of this parking structure in West Hollywood in this passenger van, getting fat, being unhappy. Like, I need something that's going to help me get to that goal of writing and directing full time. And that was an office job. That's what I figured out. It's like, you know what? I need the structure. I need the 5-day work week. I need 9 to 5, 9 to 6, but I need nights, I need weekends so that I can do what I want to do. And I was able to find that. I reconnected with a buddy that I met at the internship, and he was like, hey, just so happens that there's a receptionist spot open. Like, do you want that? I was like, you know what? Yeah. You know, I was, maybe 25 at the time, you know, like 2 or 3 years doing PA stuff. And mentally, it was like, okay, this is definitely starting over. It's starting at the bottom. It's a receptionist, you know, there's no guarantee that it'll lead to anything. But I was like, you know what? Like, I will do it. And that's one of those risks that I was like, I have to take, you know, I have to take that risk. I will start from the bottom again if I need to, in order to make it that I can shoot and write and have that time. So I took the plunge and it worked out. And for me, getting an office job was what I needed to get my creative flow going and to keep it going, which is interesting because you would think doing the same thing or having, you know, that set schedule every day, like, wouldn't that make you, you know, not as creative? Or, you know, if life was monotonous, you know, would it? But I found that I needed that, and it helped me, you know, when I came home, like, I could write and, like, you know, I was much more creative.
I find that so interesting that at 25 you knew you needed structure. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
But before, you thought it was going to be more of this like free-for-all, cool, I'm going to be making movies, and then you realized, oh, wait a minute, I need some type of discipline in order to be freer and creative.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
I mean, because the thing that I found was that when you're constantly looking for work and trying to survive, that's where your brain power goes. You know, you need to find that next job. You need to pay rent. You need to eat. That doesn't really leave a lot of time for, like, what's this amazing short film concept, or what's this feature I could do, you know? So it's a lot of hustling. And for me, it was hard to fit in, you know, a lot of the creative stuff when I was sort of struggling to survive. So it really was let me just get an office job that will pay me, and I don't have to worry about that then. And that way, more brain power is freed up, so then I can concentrate on, you know, what creative ideas do I have? How do I make this?
Fascinating. And so since then, how many films have you made, shorts or features included?
Yeah. I've written a lot more than I've shot because shooting in LA is expensive. That's just the fact of life, because you want to pay people, you know, crew members, a decent wage. Like, I feel like terrible, and I couldn't make people like work for nothing. You know what I mean? That's after working for nothing, it's really hard for me to go like, hey, please work for nothing, because I know what that's like. So it's very expensive to shoot stuff. So I haven't shot a ton of things, but I have written an enormous amount of things. And that was all in the service of getting those 10,000 hours in. So, you know, it was breaking, you know, stories with my writing partner, Will, about this like sci-fi web series. And we did that for a while. And that helped us figure out like how to make worlds, you know, because everything started to turn to a more like franchise model and a world building model in terms of Hollywood. So that was very helpful for us, and it's learnings that we've used when we've gone to create, TV shows. It's like, how do you create a world and how do you do that? So I've written a bunch of features.
You
TV
crowdfunded?
shows.
Sorry.
And
You crowdfunded over 30 grand?
Yes.
Pretty amazing.
So, there was stuff that we shot for low budget, but, when we got the opportunity to work with Heidi Moneymaker and Zoe Bell on this short film project called No Touching, which is an action horror piece about two girls who get into this haunted house where the people running it are misogynistic and start grabbing and touching them inappropriately, you don't do that to Zoe Bell or Heidi Moneymaker because they're gonna kick your ass, and that is what happens in No Touching. They kick ass all throughout this haunted house. So it's very fun, but for that, we knew that it had to be done right, So we didn't have access to 30 grand. So we had to resort to Kickstarter, which was great.